The EPA does not recommend bleach for mold cleanup. That is not new guidance. That has been their position for years. The product that actually kills mold roots costs $2. It is sitting in the first aid aisle right now. Americans spend $1.2 billion a year on mold cleaners. The market leader is 2.4% active ingredient. The rest is water and filler. It whitens the surface, it feeds the roots. You buy another bottle in 3 weeks. Today you will learn the exact method, the exact science, and why a billion-dollar industry prays you never find out. Welcome back. If you're new here, this is the channel that reads the documents, the federal guidance, the published chemistry, the regulatory positions that sit in plain sight on government websites, while companies spend millions making sure you never look them up. We do the reading, you get the answer. If that sounds like something worth keeping in your feed, subscribe. Not for us. For the next time, a $2 solution is buried under a billion-dollar marketing campaign. Now, let us start with what is actually happening inside your grout. You spray bleach on mold, the surface turns white. You think it worked? That is the entire business model. Here is what actually happens at the molecular level. Clorox Tilex, the best-selling mold spray in America, contains 2.4% sodium hypochlorite. That is the active ingredient. The remaining 97.6% is water and inert fillers. When you spray it on a porous surface like grout, tile caulk, or drywall, the chlorine molecules and sodium hypochlorite hit the surface. They are ionic, they carry a charge, and they are large. Too large to penetrate the pores of grout or caulk, where mold roots, called hyphae, actually live. So the chlorine sits on top. It oxidizes the pigment. The dark stain disappears. You think the mold is dead? It is not dead. The chlorine evaporated off the surface, but the water in that 97.6% filler, that water is smaller. It penetrates. It seeps into the pores. It reaches the roots. And it delivers exactly what mold needs to recover. Moisture. You just fed it. 2 to 4 weeks later, the mold is back. Darker, deeper. You grab another bottle, $5 to $8, and the cycle repeats. That is not a product failure. That is the product working exactly as designed. Cosmetic removal. Guaranteed regrowth. Recurring revenue. So if bleach cannot reach the roots, what can? Before we get there, understand that this video scratches the surface of what we have documented. Inside the vault, you will find deep dives on water purification methods the survival industry does not want you using. Food preservation techniques older than refrigeration, and cleaning solutions that outperform entire product categories for pennies. No fluff, no filler, just research. The link is in the description, but stay here, because the molecule that actually does what bleach pretends to is next. Now, the molecule that actually does what bleach pretends to. Hydrogen peroxide. Chemical formula H2O2. First synthesized by the French chemist Louis-Jacques Thénard in 1818. That is over 200 years of documented antimicrobial use. This is not a trend. This is not a hack someone found on social media. This compound has been studied, tested, and validated for 2 centuries. Here is why it works where bleach fails. Hydrogen peroxide is a non-ionic molecule. It carries no charge, and it is small. Small enough to penetrate the pores of grout, caulk, wood, and drywall. It goes where chlorine physically cannot. It reaches the hyphae, the roots. When it contacts organic material, it oxidizes, not the pigment, the cellular structure. It breaks apart the organic bonds that hold the mold together. The cell walls rupture. The organism dies, not on the surface, at the root. And then something happens that you can see with your own eyes. It bubbles. That fizzing is not cosmetic. Oh, that is oxygen gas being released as the peroxide decomposes. That oxygen physically flushes debris out of the pores. It is a chemical reaction and a mechanical cleaning action happening simultaneously. When the bubbling stops, the reaction is complete. The mold is not whitened. It is destroyed. Standard 3% hydrogen peroxide, the kind in the brown bottle at any pharmacy, handles light to moderate mold. For heavy colonization, 5 to 6% concentration is more effective. These are available at beauty supply stores or online. So the science is clear. The question is, why is this not on every shelf in America? Follow the money. The mold removal market generates $1.2 billion annually in the United States. Billion. With a B. That market is dominated by branded products from companies like Clorox. Well, these companies spend enormous sums on advertising, shelf placement, and brand positioning. Now consider hydrogen peroxide. A bottle of 3% costs approximately $2. It cannot be patented. It has been a public domain compound for over 2 centuries. No manufacturer can create a proprietary formulation at the concentrations that matter. There is no brand loyalty. There is no subscription model. There is no recurring revenue. If every American with a mold problem switched to peroxide tonight, the entire mold cleaning product category would collapse. Not shrink, collapse. From $1.2 billion to almost nothing. No company with a marketing budget will ever tell you this. Compare the economics. A household using branded mold spray spends $5 to $8 per bottle, repurchasing every 2 to 4 weeks because the mold returns. That is roughly $60 to over $200 per year on a product that whitens but does not kill. Hydrogen peroxide at $2 per bottle, applied weekly or bi-weekly as maintenance, costs under $25 a year, approximately 1/50th the annual expense. The EPA's position on bleach and mold has been publicly available for years. They removed bleach from their recommended mold cleanup guidance. A federal environmental agency looked at the chemistry and said, no, that position is on public record. It has been for years, and yet bleach-based mold sprays remain the best-selling products in the category. This is not a conspiracy. It is an incentive structure. When a product that fails generates more revenue than a product that works, the market does not self-correct. It self-reinforces. But you do not have to take our word for it. Look at who already made the switch. Professional mold remediation companies, the ones you call when the problem is serious, use peroxide-based solutions, not bleach. Hospitals use hydrogen peroxide for disinfection protocols. Water treatment facilities use it. Food processing plants use it. The institutions that cannot afford to get disinfection wrong chose peroxide decades ago. If you are still here, you are the kind of person who actually wants to know. Hit subscribe. Because this is the kind of research that does not show up in your feed unless you tell the algorithm you want it. We have no advertising budget. We have no corporate sponsor. The only way this reaches the next person is if you share it or subscribe. That is the math. Now, before you grab a bottle, there are things you need to know that most people skip. Honesty matters more to us than virality. So here is what is true and what is still being studied. Proven beyond reasonable doubt, hydrogen peroxide oxidizes organic material. Chlorine ions in bleach cannot penetrate porous grout. The EPA does not recommend bleach for routine mold cleanup. These are settled. Well documented, but worth qualifying. A 2013 study examined peroxide's penetration depth on heavily degraded, deeply porous grout. The findings suggest that even peroxide has limits. On severely compromised surfaces where grout has eroded over years, the deepest hyphae may survive treatment with 3% concentration. 5 to 6% performs better. But no chemical is magic. Here is what you will not hear from anyone selling you something. Hydrogen peroxide leaves no residual antimicrobial barrier. Once it decomposes, it is gone. If the conditions that caused mold persist, high humidity, poor ventilation, active leaks, mold will eventually return regardless of what chemical you used. Peroxide vastly outperforms bleach. That is clear. But environment control is the true permanent solution. One more note. Peroxide can lighten colored grout and may etch natural stone. Test a small area first, always. No major manufacturer funds comparative studies between a $2 generic product in their flagship offerings. The research that exists comes from independent and institutional sources. That research gap is not an accident. It is an incentive. With that understood, here's exactly how to do this, step by step. Step 1. Acquire 3% hydrogen peroxide from any drugstore or pharmacy. It is in the first aid aisle. The brown bottle, approximately $2. Step 2. Transfer it to a dark or opaque spray bottle. This matters. Hydrogen peroxide degrades when exposed to light. The brown bottle it comes in is not an accident. If you pour it into a clear spray bottle and leave it on the counter, you're spraying water within days. Dark bottle, non-negotiable. Step 3. Spray undiluted directly onto all affected surfaces. Do not dilute it. 3% is already the working concentration. Saturate the area. Be generous. Step 4. Wait 10 minutes. Watch the bubbling. That is the oxidation reaction destroying organic material, and the oxygen gas flushing debris from pores. When the bubbling stops, the reaction is complete. Step 5. Wipe clean with a cloth or sponge. For light to moderate mold, you should not need to scrub. The chemical did the work. For heavier growth, a stiff brush may help after the dwell time. Remember, the EPA notes that dead mold spores still cause allergic reactions. Physical removal matters. Do not just spray and walk away. Step 6. Address the root cause. This is the step most people skip, and it is the most important. Keep indoor humidity between 30 and 50%. Fix any active leaks immediately. Run your bathroom ventilation fan for a minimum of 30 minutes after every shower. Mold is an environmental problem. Chemistry treats the symptom. Humidity control treats the cause. Step 7. Maintain with weekly or bi-weekly reapplication. A light spray on previously affected areas prevents recolonization. This is your maintenance schedule. $2, 30 seconds. once a week. One safety note. If you choose to use 5 to 6% concentration for heavy colonization, wear gloves. Above 10% is not recommended for household use. Standard 3% requires no special protective equipment. That is it. 7 steps, $2. And now you know something that a billion-dollar industry hoped you never would. The best-selling mold cleaner in America is 97.6% water and filler. It cannot reach where mold lives. The EPA said so publicly. The product that works has existed since 1818. It costs $2. It is available tonight at any pharmacy in the country. No one with a marketing budget will ever tell you this. There is no ad campaign coming. There is no Super Bowl commercial for hydrogen peroxide. The only way this reaches the next person who needs it is if you send it to them. Share this video with someone who has been fighting mold in their bathroom for years. Someone who keeps buying the same bottle off the same shelf and wondering why it keeps coming back. Now you know why, and now you know what to use instead. Next week, we are opening the vault on another product category where the $2 solution outperforms the $50 brand name. Same pattern, same incentive structure, different aisle. Subscribe so you do not miss it. Knowledge should not be a luxury, and it definitely should not be a secret.